living it right now.
As I said,
listen to
I said 60s and 70s.
Let me say this.
Don't overtalk.
And overtalk you because you're talking out of line.
But you're not going to disrespect
You don't know
me.
what you're talking about.
I am.
I just learned love at 60.
I do.
Bro. You don't know what you talk.
For entertainment and commentary purposes, opinions are based on research and experience. Allegations discussed are based on public available information. Verify everything with a qualified professional. No harassment, doxing, or targeting of anyone mentioned. All parties are presumed innocent unless established otherwise. Viewer discretion and critical thinking are encouraged.
Hello guys, today we're talking about Clifton Powell. Clifton Powell is an American actor from Washington, D.C. and he has played a lot of roles, like in movies from Next Friday, Ray, and Menace to Society. He started a wildfire when he appeared on a podcast, like let's say a month or so ago, where they were talking about the Black community, you know, how Black women are basically looked down upon, how we could better support Black women, the role of Black men in that. And within that podcast, Clifton Powell pulled from his life experiences. You guys will see that clip later in the video. So for now, just enjoy the sections and what I have to say about the topic.
The right thing. It might not be the right thing to say, but I was just talking about I'm 70 years old. So I come from a whole nother era than any of you Negroes is talking about. And what I've learned, and I'm not saying I'm right, I think everybody is right. Because there's so many levels to this. But most of this was laid on our parents' parents. Yeah. My father was born in 1915 and his parents were slaves. Well, his grandparents were slaves. So what I've learned is it's not your mother's fault, it's not your father's fault, it's not your fault. We were born into 450 years of post-slavery PSA.
So I totally get what he's saying to a certain extent. Yes, it's not necessarily people in the Black community or the Black community as a whole, if you want to say, fault for certain things, because when you know better, you do better. However, it is their, and I would say our, because I am a Black person, responsibility to break those trauma cycles. And I'm not really going to give him a free pass for that because he has had plenty of time to do research and or surround himself with people that know what love is and how to show love, you know, open a book and things of that nature. He had plenty of time to do that. As you know, he is 69 or 70 years old, as he has stated, which caused a major controversy due to him, I suppose you could say, being too real, as in that he said it took him 69 years, as in from the time he was born, because he's 69 years old, I believe, to finally learn how to love. That was really the clip that set everything ablaze.
I am 69, I'll be 70 in March. I've just learned how to love.
So just a quick detour because I like receipts, and I just wanted to bring up the person who actually came up with the theory, which Clifton referred to. It's called post-traumatic slave syndrome, PTSS. The brilliant person who came up with this theory was Joy DeGray. I hope I said that right. I'm sorry if I didn't. Essentially, it's a condition that exists as a consequence of multi-generational oppression of Africans and their descendants resulting from centuries of chattel slavery. Chattel slavery was a form of slavery that had the belief that African Americans were inherently and or genetically inferior to white people. This was then followed by institutionalized racism, which still continues today. These descendants today are still plagued by structural and emotional hardship directly related to slavery in the aftermath of it. These feelings, along with trauma, are passed down between generations along with economic structures. Joy prescribes the need for African Americans to heal in order to cure the persistent wounds of slavery's legacy. That's also including, the trauma cycle and the other trickle-down effects that are still perpetuated through institutionalized racism within the United States. So it's calling for community healing, on different levels. We can start from the individual or the community or vice versa, and also the wider United States in helping us to heal. Betty was a plaintiff in the Betty Ann Kilby versus Warren County Board of Education case, which fought for integration in the school system. So that means with Black people going to school with white people and vice versa. Basically, no segregation of schooling based on race. She adds that we must be willing to relieve the pain by talking and telling our stories, no matter how much they hurt. We must not stop with healing ourselves. We must work with others to heal our communities. We must work with the leaders of our nation to heal our nation. We hurt, we react, but we don't understand because we are in survival mode. The healing is a long and slow process, but it is necessary. So I believe 1,000% that that is true. However, we still have to be held accountable for our actions. Yes, there's things that affect us outside of our control, but just kind of spamming PTSS like it's an ultimate move is the wrong move. Not saying Clifton is doing this intentionally, but I've just heard, a lot on social media how people just spam it like that. They say slavery this, slavery that, government welfare took them out of the home and things of that nature. It's because I'm black. It can only be because I'm black. Or they did this to them because they are black because of institutional racism. I'm not saying that you can't say that. I'm just saying don't use it as a crutch always because that may not be true. Don't just jump to that, but evaluate and see if that's actually true so that your words have meaning. So I get all that. Like I understand, but where's that fighting you to actually fight against those things, to break those cycles? Because we have things outside of our control. The only thing we can really control is ourselves and our reactions. And if we choose to take accountability and improve and move forward. He says we have to talk to each other and things of that nature. But as I'm going to show later on, he kind of puts off the personal accountability. I mean, is he owning up to what he did by talking about it? Is that accountability? Or is accountability not only owning up to that, but also making changes so you don't repeat the same behaviors and improve? I want you guys to think about that, and I will discuss that later in the video. Again, I'm not minimizing any of the institutional racism effects that it had on the Black community. I'm just saying, where's the personal accountability? And I think to a certain extent, that's what Clifton was saying.
So I think that in order to trust Black women, we got to kind of like, I think you and I were talking about, or no, I was talking to my driver on the way over, about holding yourselves accountable. 81% of people don't talk. And Black men have to talk to the women. And a lot of the women, and it's not 80%, 81% of women, it's 81% of people don't talk. So I think it starts with a dialogue. But I can personally tell you, I can't imagine walking around with another person inside of me. And I think that we have to yield to women who were raped. I mean, they're talking about if you were raped or molested, that you have to have that child. I don't think the government should have any say in that. Along with women having a choice of their bodies, we also have to teach our daughters and sons how to be responsible. Not rely on the plan B, because abortion shouldn't be used just so you can all go out and have a good time. Right. Because we walk away, but women have to deal with the body, the changing your body.
I totally agree with that. I wish he also said that, men have to deal with the child support. It kind of more of the negative effects of men just leaving because a woman gets pregnant. So far, the part of this interview is really good, but I could tell when he said, I learned to love at 69 and or 70, that really was going to cause a ruckus and that it's really sad in a way. However, again, I do give him props for being this open and vulnerable, especially when it's on YouTube and social media.
It's a lot that we don't see because if you weren't raised that way, you don't know. It's like you listening to you guys trying to be good husbands. The women gotta let us in, and we can't tell them what to do. And I think this government has to step back.
For some reason, this part is really annoying me. I think when he says, we have to step back and just kind of just observe, I'm not really understanding that. It's just a little bit confusing. So I suppose he's saying, we just have to step back and listen and do whatever the opposite gender wants us to do and just let them do whatever. And the government shouldn't have a say in certain things like that. But the fact is that we live in a society and, women, we have to advocate for ourselves and things of that nature. It would be great if men took an active role and not just a passive role in listening and actually doing something with us as well. I think that's what he was trying to say, but it just kind of got kerfuffled a little bit for me. It just comes off as men just playing a passive role. I mean, I guess you could say he's actively listening, but is it really active if they're not doing anything else? They're kind of just saying, women are going to be, I guess, the head of the household of society. It's like, okay, men, we did enough damage. Now let's just sit back and observe. And this is a theme where he puts Black women on a pedestal, which is also dehumanizing in a way. And also wants them to take the charge and also heal Black men and that Black women have to be healed. And you guys will see that later. And I think to a certain extent that's dehumanizing. He should have just made it clear like it's more like a partnership. Like, okay, women, you lead the charge, but we're here to support you and actually take actions, and we're equal partners, or something to that effect. You can say equitable, whatever you want to say.
Know how to love. Their parents know how to love. And if I could say anybody maybe had an edge, it was the women. That's why I celebrate black women. I live with a psychiatrist, forensics detective, gangster, loving Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer, who's just been patient with me to teach me how to love.
So, yeah, that's basically what I was talking about. It's putting all the responsibility on the woman, specifically the black woman. And he says, oh, she's my therapist. She's every sign in the sign system that signs. And he's saying that, oh, she's like basically a woman has to be the teacher to teach you how to love, which is very odd because as a man, as a human being, that is your responsibility. You don't put that on the shoulders of somebody else. And the fact that it took him till 69 to find a teacher to teach him how to love, I'm just not buying it. I'm really not. And like I said before, it dehumanizes black women. Because black women are the women who are supposed to teach you how to love. It's basically like the good girl syndrome type of thing where she has to be perfect, she can't argue, she has to heal you, she has to fix you. And that's already a pressure put upon women in general in society, especially black women. So I guess props to him for finding a black woman to fix him as a black man. So now he knows how to love and he could get on a podcast and tell everybody else what to do.
What age did you become a monogamous?
Today.
Yeah, so I don't really think he was joking. I think he was saying it as a joke, but trying to convey that that's actually the reality. So I'm gonna take him at his word. I mean, he did say, "Oh, I'm just joking. I'm just kidding. I didn't mean it." He said it because he meant it. So this kind of goes back to my Corey video. Is what he's saying a joke, or is it a statement posed as a joke? So with that in mind, again, this is kind of embarrassing. I mean, like I said before, props on him for actually coming up here on the internet and saying this. I mean, I'm sure he got paid, so there's a reason why he did it. Both monetary and also, I guess, to help his community reasons. I can't disprove that or not. However, when he says this, it makes it seem like he decided today to be monogamous because he knew he was going on this podcast and how it would look, and to kind of show some artificial growth of his character. And now he's a monogamous man who doesn't cheat. And I'm going to show clips of him actually admitting or at least alluding to him being a cheater. So this wasn't, I assume, a poly type of thing with his first wife, and they actually did get a divorce.
You're on the move, and you in one town doing a movie, and then you're out of the country doing a movie, or you're in LA, and now you're in Atlanta, then you're in DC, you might be in Houston, you might be in Vancouver, you might be in Toronto. When I was married, I didn't know how to handle all of that, and I didn't do a great job. When I met my girl, I was better, but I still wasn't where I needed to be in a loving and balanced relationship, i.e. handling all the outside temptations, watching my tone, watching how I, my late hours, hanging out with the fellas and not.
So basically, he was everywhere dropping dick. So what I showed you before is an interview after he did the podcast or show, whatever you want to call it. And it's basically him doing damage control on the art of dialogue. From here on out, it will be more of an intermingling of like the different clips from him being on the art of dialogue and also on the podcast to kind of give more context.
Those things I own, and not that I heard her like with other women, is my tone was off. She asked me something, I snapped. What we do is we play out what we see our parents do. If you really want to know, a lot of us didn't see happy marriages. I'm not making an excuse. I'm saying if you do your research, a lot of people are struggling right now with loving relationships, whether it's marriage or just dating, because a lot of us are still learning how to really navigate through that. One of the books that helped me was a book called Love by Dr. Leo Buscaglia. He wants to teach love classes in the first grade. So yes, I don't think it's as much as nobody pulls you aside and teaches you how to handle fame.
Again, I totally get what he's saying. However, it is still your responsibility to seek that out because you do have the freedom to do that if you allow yourself to actually do that. Again, it may be difficult, but this goes for anybody. Like, if you want to improve yourself, you have to go seek it out. You can go to the library, get a free book. You can speak to your neighbors. You can speak to people who you think has that love and kind of dig and investigate that so you can implement that into your own life. And this video isn't bashing him. This basically applies to anybody. If you want to change, you have to seek that change out.
Today and see entertainers, ball players, politicians going down because it takes a lot of discipline. And it's a tricky kind of lifestyle. And I got caught up in a lifestyle where I was gambling, I was drinking. I just had to go to the doctor and get all my tests.
I also wanted to note he keeps saying my girl, but he doesn't say my partner, my spouse, or anything, more of a better sounding title. That may just be his vernacular, though. He is an older gentleman. Again, he's using a woman, I think she's a black woman at that, as a catalyst for change instead of finding that change within himself and doing better. It shouldn't have taken him this long. That's my honest opinion right now.
Of my lifestyle, not having a great role model as a father. One of the things that I have to own that she was right about. At the time, it didn't feel like she was right, but as I've had a chance to heal and think about everything, I left a lot of money out in the streets, partying, gambling, flying women in.
So basically, his character before was one of those bad guys, dropping dick all over the place, but not having enough money provisions for his kids, but having money to do other things. And oh, I had a bad dad and things of that nature. Therefore, I did this instead of changing until a good woman came into my life. He was one of those type of guys. I don't know if he changed. I'm not going to say that, but I guess this is a step forward. I'll give him some grace. Props on him for telling us this. This does paint a better picture. However, this picture still isn't a good one, and it's really sad. And again, it's making it seem like the love of a good woman will change you for the better. So it just sounds like he had no agency and he only changed because there was somebody else there to help him change. And it had to be a partner. It could have been a therapist or anything, a psychiatrist or anything else like that. Again, it's putting women in the caretaker role, like they have to fix you because, oh, I'm a man and my dad was this, my dad was that, I had so much trauma. But women have trauma too. Those are human issues. And as another human being, it's your job to fix yourself. I'm just saying, don't rely on somebody or don't wait for somebody else to fix you when you have the agency to fix yourself. Again, he had all that money before. He could have sought help. Maybe, got rid of his vices and things like that. Like, I get, like, the lifestyle, things of that nature, but it's up to you to protect yourself.
Yeah, but eventually comes a point where you have to decide, how do I want to live my life? I haven't talked to my daddy in 6 years. I don't give a fuck about what my family has gone through. I know where I will go. So it's like, you can only say that for so long. Black women are tired and, kind of like putting onto them like, hey, like, you didn't do this entirely, because everybody in here, several people have talked about like, going to counseling. Have that upon yourself. Stop waiting for a woman to tell you what you need to do. Take that upon yourself.
Let me address that real quickly. For me, I didn't know how to
Can I say one more thing? No, I have to say this, because another thing that happens is, too, you live your life for so long, and I'm not meaning no disrespect by this.
It's all right, just say it, bro.
But when you hit your 60s and your 70s, I want to be right.
Okay, but let me...
I want to live my life right. I want someone to take care of me and protect me. Well, a lot of women have issues with.
Because I'm living it right now.
As I said.
So I will say right here is where it escalated with Clifton cursed. When you're having a discussion, you start using curse words or name calling and things of that nature, that will naturally escalate, the conversation, because now it's heated. Now you're kind of attacking someone else. Now, the young man in the video, I don't honestly see anything that he did wrong. I mean, I don't think he was done finishing, landing his plane. So when Clifton interjected, that also raised the frequency a little bit higher. As an older man, Clifton should have had more control. It shouldn't have, raised the escalation to that matter. If you disagree, feel free to tell me in the comments why.
Listen,
I said 60s and 70s.
Let me say this.
Don't overtalk me.
I'm gonna fucking fuck you because
I'm good,
you're talking out
but you're not gonna disrespect
me. You don't know what the fuck
I am.
I do. Love it.
I do.
You don't know what the you talking about.
Oh, I do.
You can't.
This is kind of funny to me because the finger pointing and everything like that. But on a serious note, I totally agree with the young man. He was totally right. And I have that same perspective. I am a young person too, so I totally get what he was saying. And I think he's right. I'm going to side with the young man. And this video isn't like a generation war, Generation Z versus baby boomers and all that. I'm just calling it how I see it, like my peer in the video did as well.
Is to dismantle patriarchy. Because patriarchy makes it so that men have the power and women do not.
But you can't get there unless you listen to him. We got to go, and you may not agree. We got to go to therapy. I should be in therapy right now. My girl should be in therapy. We all come from generations and generations, and you can't sit here and tell.
So even after things calm down, Clifton is still being insulting to a certain extent. I just expect more from the older generation like they expect from us. I'm just, I'm all about equality, And he says me and my girl should be in therapy, but I thought she was the therapist. It's sort of, maybe she's just Googling stuff. And so is he basically admitting, like, was that a Freudian slip that he's not in therapy actually? Like maybe he just started today because of this show? I I think he messed up right there for sure.
When I'm going through at 70, I just realized, but that's what I'm saying. It's good, bro. It's not get out of control, man. This is real shit. Bro, this is real shit. I'm telling you, you can't love a queen. Some of these girls out here in Queens because their daddies wasn't there. If your daddy ain't there, from 12 to 25, you're going down a rabbit hole. Promise you, you gotta read more. Y'all stop getting so fucking defensive and read more. I read. I know what the fuck I'm talking about because I'm living it. Until you meet a real motherfucking queen who had to figure out her trauma, you can't even learn how to love a black woman.
So we know he can read and that he is in fact living it. Again, he's putting the onus on the black woman to have everything figured out to be completely perfect in order for a black man to basically love her and for him to the black man to fix himself. So you have to wait on the other gender to fix you essentially. But who loves a black woman when she's traumatized, when she's broken, when she's destroyed? It just seems like for black women it's conditional love, but for black men they're supposed to get all the love because they're the man, and that the woman has to fix them while they have to be all together for the black man to love them in the proper way. This basically solidifies my argument of pedestalization and thus dehumanization of black women and also black girls. It's teaching them that they're not human, that they have to be the fixer-upper, they have to be the Build-A-Bear factory.
Can't connection to that has created children, all these things, and you get with another person and you have the gall to say, this person taught you how to love. Even if that's true, that's shit to say aloud. And furthermore, I can't contrast the rhetoric of these women need to bow down and let these men lead. And many of these women, we're talking about relationships in the 90s, we're talking about the Juanita Jordans, we're talking about these black women who have given their lives to these men, right? And they led them to heartbreak and despair. And then you get with a new girl. You look at the timeline and you get with a new woman, and this is the woman who showed you everything and did everything for you.
I completely agree. That's basically what I got from watching it independently. Again, it's nobody's responsibility to fix you and heal you. It is your responsibility because that person who is an individual and who is also human, no matter the gender, has to fix their own stuff as well. Now, they can help you. They can be your support and things of that nature, but it's not their job to fix you. It's kind of like the same thing with women who want a rich man to come and save them. It's basically the same effect. It's basically damsel in distress and you need a prince or princess to come save you. Call that damsel in distress syndrome.
At 70, I gotta tell y'all, I'm a part of the generation that I'm his son's age, right? And I'm telling y'all, that was the worst generation of men that I have seen, okay? And this generation that I have encountered suffer from, I can't even cuss on here like that, but they suffer from victim mindset. Talking about you barely learning how to love. Boy, you finna die.
Shouts out to the creators who I'm using in my video. Make sure to go follow them. I will have the links in my description. And yeah, he basically said what I was thinking. Like, it's never too late until it is too late. It seemed like the day of the podcast, now all of a sudden he's changed. And he kind of did a Freudian slip that kind of showed that, especially with the therapy part. I'm sure Clifton has many years left. I wish him all the best. I wish him health and happiness. With what the previous creator said, it does matter, and that's why I included it in my video. Yes, that's his experience. I guess you could call it anecdotal experience, but I don't think there's necessarily a survey that tells how bad men were back then, but there is, I suppose, studies that can conclude to that fact, that correlate. But I'm not gonna go over that in this video. So you guys can go do that research and also comment what you think.
Clifton Powell roundtable talk. In this Clifton Powell roundtable talk dialogue y'all engaging in, especially because I had the opportunity to be a part of the conversation, I found it real weird. We had an intergenerational conversation around healing, around centering black women, and there's a lot of y'all that's making it about things that it should not be about. First things first. Why don't y'all believe a gay black man has a space or position to have a conversation about respecting and trusting black women? Why do y'all think that? I don't know why y'all think that. You believe the only relationship to women that matter is a transactional sexual one. And if you feel like a man ain't putting that thing on a woman, why are you talking about women for? This is all a part of the problem. I appreciate the vulnerability from Clifton Powell saying I'm this damn old and I just learned how to love. But I also appreciate the respect, you feel me, that the tenacity that Joseph had in being like, but hold on though. When y'all get the 60s and 70s, y'all wait too long. That's the part of the conversation with black men amongst black men. So when y'all in the comments being like, why y'all ain't talking about doing what we having a conversation, holding black men responsibility as black men talking to black men. Why y'all making it about, why y'all don't say this about, come on, man. This whataboutism shit is killing the dialogue.
This man was actually on the podcast show, and I totally agree with him. Your orientation doesn't change about what you could say about another gender or another person. I mean, he's still a man at the end of the day, so I don't really understand that either. And he is right, the whole whataboutism. I think we should focus on the main message. However, it's important to look at everything. And I mean, people have the right to criticize it as well. As the video is coming to a close, I wanted to also include recent videos, about him talking about the backlash and everything from the reactions. It is just damage control, that's all it is. And he kind of makes it even worse, and we'll get into that. More damage control in 3, 2, 1.
Someone said, why do you go to counseling? Like I said to you earlier, Art, I thought I was a cool guy. I didn't think I needed counseling. So she helped me understand, because she's all love. And I know people are not into astrology, some people are, but she's a Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer, all the water signs, and she's very gentle. And I'm a little older than her, a lot older, but she's way more mature in a loving relationship than I am.
So this really bothered me. So it's basically him sucking the youth from a younger woman to teach him how to love it, to basically revitalize him. And it's really still unclear if he's actually in therapy. It seems he's using this younger woman, his girl, as he describes, just to, I guess, fill in that blank for him instead of paying the money and actually going. If I'm wrong, tell me in the comments.
He kind of came at me like, man, you should have learned that way before you did. And I'm like, dude, I've been up with, I've dated and lived with, I was married. If whoever your significant other, if it's a guy to a girl or girl to a guy, if they're not on that next level where they know how to be patient, how to love, how to be gentle, to watch, my tone was off, man, I was in and out all hours, doing my work, but then hanging out and I'm, being settled, it takes a lot of discipline. And then we don't talk about dopamine and oxytocin, which I'm not going to get into right now, but if anybody's out there, do your research on oxytocin and dopamine. Dopamine is in the pleasure center of a man's brain. And it rules drugs, drinking, alcohol, sex, all of that. And then I'm an entertainer, a well-known entertainer. Back in the Hollywood days, I was making a lot of money, so I was out of the house 80% of the time. It's a hell of a lifestyle to handle. I know I said in the last podcast that I probably should have built my career by itself as opposed to being married, trying to build a career inside of my marriage. And I made a lot of mistakes and didn't have any idea that a lot of it had to do with coming out of my dysfunction. And so it got all mixed up in the context.
According to Merriam-Webster, accountability is the quality or state of being accountable, but it also says especially an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility or to account for one's actions. However, there is another website that has a more encompassing definition, even though it's more for criminals, unfortunately, and I'm not calling Clifton Powell a criminal. It states that an accountability approach focuses on people taking full responsibility for their behavior, including understanding the harm they've done, making amends, learning from their mistakes, and changing their behavior. The goals are to repair the harm that was caused, learn from mistakes, and change behavior. A punishment approach focuses on strict sentences and severe penalties for criminal behavior. The goals are to punish those who break the law, to use the strict sentences to deter people from committing crime in the first place, and to keep people who are convicted of crimes in prison away from the community. Based on the Merriam-Webster definition, I suppose you could say he took accountability. I'm kind of iffy on that because the account for one's actions, you could say him speaking about it does that, him admitting to it. However, I do prefer the more lawful accountability approach. That's where I think he fails at. Yes, he has admitted to changing the behavior, but has he actually made up for the harm that he caused to his first wife and kids? Did he really do that? He never really talked about making up with them. He just said, oh, my kids need money, now I have it because I haven't gambled, drunken away, or slept my way through the money supply. However, throughout the clips I've seen, I've never heard him say that. And I suppose, like I said before, he has changed. I mean, it's not like I could watch him 24/7, and neither can you, to see if his behavior really changed. And I suppose he's in the stage of learning from his mistakes by, talking about it so openly. So I'll give him props for that. The reason why I included the punishment approach was to show a direct contrast to the accountability approach. Now, what he did, I wouldn't say is criminal. I mean, from what I see, he didn't do anything criminal. Immoral, sure, but not criminal. So, and maybe the social media backlash is the punishment approach that some people are taking with it. For me, I'm just doing more of a balance, kind of just evaluating what's going on. This is not a video to bash him, but to evaluate and assess what he's saying and if he's really doing that. Overall, I don't think he took accountability if we really look at the lawful accountability approach. But for some people, they'll be satisfied with just the Merriam-Webster definition of accountability. I still find it pretty ridiculous it took him this long to figure out what love is. Some people could say he was explaining, so others could say, oh, it was just excuses. For me, I'm leaning more towards the excuse side. Like, yes, technically you could say he took accountability, but it just sounded like he was pushing off the responsibility to other parties, such as black women, and that it was the fault of his parents and things of that nature, other circumstances. But at the end of the day, it was his responsibility to be a father for his kids and to support his family. As mentioned earlier in the video, I really do think it's up to the individual. Yes, the circumstances could be very unfair and it could be very difficult. However, the only person who is going to save you is you. And he was, he had a family, he had a wife, he had kids. He basically threw it all away because of his dopamine addiction to the fast lifestyle that he lived. Again, that is a choice and addiction is real. However, again, he could have gotten help, and he had a lot of people depending on him. So I'm really not going to give him a free pass for that. But I do wish him well, and I wish him happiness. With that, I'll end the video with the words from a wise man.
Is that it centers men as the most powerful thing in existence that should be centered, and it teaches us, I think, the wrong definition of power.
Yes.
And it makes us center decisions that don't factor in the health of women, don't factor in the health of children, don't factor in the health of the community. And it makes us decision while we're looking at these men that are abusing their power and thinking that that's what power is. We don't realize they're making the whole community less healthy, that they're endangering other people and they're making themselves less powerful.